CNN. Let's bring in Congressman Michael McCaul, Republican from Texas, former chair of both the House Foreign Affairs Committee and the House Homeland Security Committee. Congressman, good to see you. So President Trump was not pleased with NATO countries today because they don't want to assist the U.S. with the Iran war when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz. He wrote on Truth Social this morning that the U.S. no longer needs or desires NATO's assistance. Quote, "We never did. We do not need the help of anyone," unquote. What's your take on that? Do you think the U.S. really doesn't ever need the help of any allies?
Well, it's always better to work with our allies. Do we need them to get the job done? No. I think our military is well equipped to clear the Straits of Hormuz along with Israel. However, I do think it's incumbent upon our NATO allies to help in this venture. If anything, 50% of European energy comes from outside of Europe. The United States is a net gain producer. And what that means is we produce enough oil to sustain ourselves. However, Europe is very dependent on the Straits of Hormuz. So it's in their best interest to work with us. Now, the president's right, we can do it alone, but I always think it's always better to work with our NATO partners. I wish they would reconsider that.
Trump was asked if he's rethinking the U.S.'s position in NATO. He said it was, quote, "something to think about." And he equated this war to the U.S. stepping in to help when Russia invaded Ukraine. What do you make of that?
Well, we have come to the assistance of Ukraine, working with NATO. I know the president's had, always a little bit of a rub with NATO. I think that was primarily, burden sharing, that they need to pay their fair share of the cost of defending the Northern Atlantic Treaty, Organization, and that is primarily Europe from the threat from the Soviet Union at that time. That's why it was formed. What I disagree with, though, is lifting sanctions on Russia, who is providing active military intelligence to Iran to target military targets and kill Americans. I think that is an unwise choice to bring down the price of gas and energy. I hope that those sanctions are snapped back relatively soon.
The director of National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent, resigned today. He says Iran posed no imminent threat to the United States. He blamed the war and also the war in Iraq and also the U.S. war against ISIS in Syria. He blamed all of it on pressure from Israel and the pro-Israel lobby. He wrote in his resignation letter that he cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people nor justifies the cost of American lives. Let's take this in two points. In two different sections here, my question for you. One, what do you make of him saying that Iran posed no imminent threat? I'm going to get to the Israel anti-Semitic stuff in a second, but just on the disagreement within the administration, Kent, maybe Gabbard, maybe J.D. Vance, there are people that seem not enthusiastic about this war in the administration.
Well, I think you posed two questions. One, was there an imminent threat? I think Iran, in my judgment, has been an imminent threat since 1979, killing our Marines in Beirut. Everything they've done in the Middle East in terms of terror operations have been an imminent threat. Now, they do have ballistic missiles. They do have enriched uranium that could create a dirty bomb effect in the region and a threat to the region. I think the deeper issue, what you're touching on here, is this. Mr. Kent seems to philosophically disagree with the president's decision to take action in Iran. Mm-hmm. And that's another, and you do have a wing in the Republican Party that tend to be more isolationist, that do disagree with the invasion in Iran, which I believe what the president's doing is taking care of a matter that should have been taken care of the last 50 years. He's finally getting this done. Finally, I think it's going to be interesting to see Tulsi Gabbard testify tomorrow because, as you know, she campaigned for president on the issue that Trump would invade Iran.
Right. She sold no war in Iran T-shirts on her website in 2020. Let me ask you, in the minute we have left, obviously disagreeing with the president on the war in Iran, totally legitimate. Joe Kent's letter also. First of all, before he was confirmed as director of the NCTC, he faced Senate opposition because of ties to white supremacists and anti-Semites. His letter blames Israel and absolves Trump, blames Israel for the war in Iran, blames Israel for the war in Iraq, blames Israel and its supporters for ISIS, for the war on ISIS in Syria. And I think there are a lot of people today wondering, how did somebody like this get a position like this in government given his anti-Semitic views?
A legitimate question. I'm personally glad he's gone. NCTC is a very important operation that connects the dots to protect the American people, particularly right now in a high state of terror alert. This anti-Semitism that we've traditionally seen on the left, we're now seeing it a little bit on the right side here. He's not the type of individual I personally would want to appoint to that position, given his anti-Israel views and his quite frankly, president views now on his actions in Iran. So I think it's quite frankly, good riddance. And I hope the president puts a better qualified, someone who's more philosophically in line with the president on Iran and Israel next in that position.
Republican Congressman Michael McCaul from Texas, thank you, sir. Good to have you.
Thank you.
As a